What's up, YouTube? It's your friendly neighborhood bald bearded comic guy here to wish you Merry Christmas. Wanted to sneak in one more video before Christmas is upon us. And then, of course, Chris and I will both be back next week to drop one more episode on you before 2020 is officially behind us. We're going to do an all-exclusive episode to cover some Star Wars issues that you can find, ranging from some hard-to-get and valuables down to some that you might be able to pick up for $1, and some good speculation on what might be coming down the road in the next year or so. Well, to start with, let's just say I was purchasing some Chinese food again recently and found this as my latest fortune. Not sure if you can read that, but it is golden investment opportunities are arising. And well, let me just say that golden investment opportunities are here. You know, historically, this time of year around the holidays, either right before or right after, is usually a good time to pick up some deals, whether it's in a local store or more likely Facebook Marketplace, eBay, etc. You've got people that are selling some of their collections, maybe because they need some extra money around the holidays, or maybe you yourself had just came into some money recently, whether it was from Hanukkah, from Christmas, and you're looking on things to spend it on, and why not go out and buy some comic books? So here are some books that, nothing super rare, super great, just haven't talked about any recent books or newer books that have come out in this last quarter. So wanted to mention a few of those, something that you might like to pick up that you could probably still find in the new books section to enjoy to read while you're either home on a holiday break or what have you. So let's go. First up, we have Kaiju Score #1. This is written by James Patrick and art by Rem Brew, and this is from Aftershock Comics. Now, Aftershock says that it's a Quentin Tarantino film taking place smack in the middle of a Godzilla movie. That's how they've described it in an official press release. I would say it's more like George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and the gang from Ocean's 11 trying to pull off a heist in the world of Pacific Rim. I was really intrigued by the premise, and I had heard BloodyDisgusting.com had reported a few months ago that before it even came out, it was already optioned by Sony to be turned into a film. So that's already in early development, pre-production at Sony. So I went out and picked this up right when it came out, end of November, because of all the hype that had been building around it. And I liked it. I'm interested to see where the story goes. So I will be sticking with this, and at least for the next issue. Then we have Batman White Knight presents Harlequin Book 2. Now, you've heard me talk about Book 1 in an earlier episode. Just to recap quickly, it's set in a world where the Joker goes by the name Jack Napier, which comes from the original 1989 Michael Keaton movie where Jack Nicholson played the Joker. You've got also in this world, Batman is behind bars. Harlequin is friends with Batman, knows that he's Bruce Wayne, and is friends with him. In fact, goes to visit him in jail. And as we come to find out in this issue, she actually has 2 children with the Joker, with Jack Napier, before he died. And they're named after what she says are the 2 most important men in her lives, being the Joker and Batman. So I don't know. It's a weird twist on the regular quote unquote norm of the Batman world, but issue number 3 comes out this week. I'm going to pick it up. Issue number 2 is also popular because it was the first cameo appearance of a new villain, and she'll be making her first full appearance in this week's issue. So you might want to check it out, pick it up, just because it might have some relevance and value down the road. Then we have MODOK Head Games number 1. Now, I got the Scotty Young variant cover for this because Scotty Young is awesome, like his work. But this is cool. This is, I believe, going to be a 4-part series co-written by Jordan Blum and Patton Oswalt. This is the precursor to the Hulu MODOK series that's going to start airing in 2021, which I believe will also be co-written by Patton Oswalt, who will star as the voice of MODOK. I believe it's going to be a cartoon or anime. So this was really cool. I liked how this started, and it's interesting because I recently finished the Marvel Avengers game, or the main campaign story, and spoiler, MODOK is the the adversary, the antagonist throughout it all. Well, both MODOK and Monica Rappaccini. So this is interesting because in the game, Monica Rappaccini is facing off at times against George Tarleton, who then turns into MODOK. The interesting thing, again, spoiler, is George Tarleton is transformed into MODOK in the game because of the experiments that Monica is doing on him to supposedly save his life when he's involved in an accident at the beginning of the story. But so it deviates from the comic lore where George Tarleton turns into MODOK by experiments through the cosmic cube. But either way, it's fun to see, basically Monica and others at AIM are doing a power grab and trying to oust MODOK as the head of AIM. And so it's going to be interesting to see where this story goes. It's not too much of a spoiler because it's mentioned on the very last page that in the next issue and the ensuing issues, MODOK is actually going to try to get the help of Iron Man, Tony Stark. And so I'm intrigued. Definitely want to see where this story goes. Next, we have Widowmaker's Red Guardian and Yelena Belova. And just like the title suggests, this story is centered around Yelena Belova and to a certain extent the Red Guardian. It's actually was recommended to me by the owner of a local comic shop. He said the writing was good, art was good, and it was kind of neat how they talk in broken English. There's an inner monologue from Yelena Belova, and it's translated roughly into English because she's Russian. So I thought that was actually kind of cool, the way that she's communicating to the reader. But it was a cool story. It's issue number 1 and looks like it's going to be continued by the looks of how it ended. So it was cool how she sneaks into this facility and finds the Red Guardian, frees him, and then they go their separate ways. So it seems to be setting up a much larger story arc, but it was fun. And I'm also reading the new Black Widow run, which I'll talk about in another episode. So interesting. They reference Natasha Romanoff, so it'll be interesting to see if they end up crossing paths at some point. I assume they do.
Next, we have Batman Black and White, issue 1. Now, this is very similar to the Wolverine stories that I talked about a little while ago, which was Wolverine White, Black, and Blood. It's a compilation of a few short stories about Batman, all in black and white. And we've got some really good drawers and writers here. One to note, especially James Tinian. I really liked 2 of the 5 stories. A few of them wasn't too crazy about, but there's one featuring Talia Al Ghul, and also another one at the end featuring Killer Croc, which was particularly good. So it's a decent read. This was one of the keys of the week when it came out, and worth a short read. Next, we have Iron Man issue 4. And I really like where this is going. This is written by Christopher Cantwell, and it's been sort of a slow build, but Tony Stark is now relocated to New York. He's teamed up with Hellcat, and he's taking on Korvac. And I guess between issue 3 and 4, Korvac had kidnapped James Rhodes, and so he's got him hostage. And Korvac is basically trying to, I believe, take over Galactus's warship that's out in space. And he's got this plot to basically absorb like all the world's energy or electricity. So it's he's trying to achieve that, and we'll see where this goes. I mean, Korvac, I don't think has been very popular, certainly not in the MCU. The editor here throws in a reference to an old Avengers issue. So we've got editor Tom Brevoort throws in, Avengers 177. Korvac took out like half of the Avengers at one point, but he is certainly looking like for this story arc, he's the main villain up against Iron Man. And so definitely like where it's going, and would suggest picking this series up if you haven't already. Then we have Sam and His Talking Gun, issue number 1. This is put out by Scout Comics. It's an indie comic, and I heard that there was some hype about this with minimal text, so I was intrigued, figured I'd give it a shot. I think the artwork is really cool. It has kind of like a little bit of like a Japanese anime feel to it for some reason. At least that was sort of my take on it. And I don't know. It certainly it is exactly as advertised. There does seem to be involved a talking gun that talks to Sam, the protagonist, and it's interesting. It starts at one point and then does a flashback about 12 years ago, and then the rest of the issue is taking place in the past. It seems to be building like these 2 assassins, one of them, of course, being Sam, and seeming to show you how their relationship may or may not end in the present, and then the rest takes place in a flashback while they are partners. So it's interesting, and not sure if I'm going to keep with the series or not, but if I do, I will be sure to let you guys know what I think. Then we have King in Black, The Immortal Hulk, number 1. Further to our symbiote discussion last week, this is a King in Black tie-in. So it's written by Al Ewing, and the artist is the very popular Aaron Kuder. This is a totally silent issue. So Sam and His Talking Gun, minimal text, this is no text at all. So here we have a situation where it's actually set at Christmas time, and the Hulk basically has been stripped of his strength. His gamma strength is basically drained from him so that he can barely walk, and he's gonna survive in the snowy streets of Manhattan and outwit and outlast some of the symbiotes that are running amok around the city. So it was interesting. Not bad. Quick read since there's no text, and Aaron Cooter is a great artist. Had the pleasure of meeting him a few times over the years at different New York Comic Cons, and so his art is really what makes this compelling. So fun read, and neat to see what else is going on in Manhattan to survive the symbiotes and the King in Black, Null's arrival. So this is actually a nice take from the main storyline.
What's going on, comic fans? Just gonna take a look at some basically books I'm reading, my pull list from local LCSs, and just get right into it here. So I'm sure you all know about this book, but Strange Academy 5 and 6. I'm a little behind in my reading, but when you got a 9 to 5, what are you gonna do? Basically, Scotty Young, Umberto Ramos, they're pretty much killing on this book. It's I think, what is it? This is 5 and 6. Number 4 was the first, I guess, cameo of the Hollow. Some kind of a cult, a little magic cult in Marvel Comics now. Basically, they pulled in every character that has anything to do with magic in the MCU, and somehow squeeze them into this book. And I'm sure you all know, like, number 1 is pulling pretty big numbers on eBay. CGCs are going for, I think, well in the hundreds, especially for a book that came out, I think, in May. Kind of suffered from basically the pandemic. Everything was closed. I know that I found some issues, once things started to open up, number 1s here or there, and now it's kind of all dried up. So it's basically every one of these characters on the cover is brand new with issue 1, and every issue has the potential to introduce some new ones. But overall, it's a solid story. I think the MCU is definitely going to go towards with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Wanda Maximoff, everything like that. They're going to head towards I think we're going to see some of these characters in the MCU before you know it. So it's a great read. I think it's a good pickup. I think issue 1's gone to 5 prints. I mean, you can find these books, some way, shape, or form, and highly recommend it. Next up, continue with Magic, but in the DCU, Justice League Dark, number 28. This wrapped up the basically Upside Down Man arc. I forget the exact name of the arc, but it's basically this. I believe this is volume 3. This book has been great too. I like that they brought in Wonder Woman, nice A-list character to kick it off, and it seems like they've just been ramping up things for Wonder Woman 1984. It's coming out, Christmas Day. We're gonna see how it all goes, but it seems like they're focusing a lot on her relationship to Greek mythology, and I think this book it brings in a lot of that kind of just aspects of the DCU, and it's another there's definitely some spec. I'd like to go into it in another video, maybe for Strange Academy as well. It's just I think DCU is going to head towards basically more magic. I think I mentioned in one of our videos here, I was looking at some Trigon books, New Teen Titans 4, 5, 6, and it's it worked for the Titans show, bringing Trigon, and Shazam was a hit I could easily see them bringing in, tying in Aquaman without any real issue with, the Greek mythology, things like that. And it's been a good read. I'm not sure if there's trades out yet, but there's definitely a couple of minor spec books to grab here. There's a couple of villains that we could see on the big screen, and Justice League Dark. Completely forgot. Justice League Dark has been announced for an HBO Max show at some point. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Everything's been kind of overshadowed by that Disney investors meeting, so now might be a good time. So look forward to a little spec video on Justice League Dark in the near future. Next up, we'll continue with DC, and we got been pulling out Death Metal. So we have Death Metal 5 and 6 here. Been reading it from the beginning. A lot of first appearances, a lot of these alternate reality Batman, things like that. The big hit was Robin King, and that's what was it, Dark Knight Legends, and they're all one shots. So the one thing that's nice about this series is that there's basically all one shots. There's not a million tie-ins. I think that I kind of looked at the list for what was it, King in Black, and it's a ton of issues, and you just don't know. I bet for King in Black, there's probably one of those issues that's going to have like a Robin King, or circling back to this kind of that Batman Who Laughs, and you might have one of these big characters right now. Robin King, I think like 9/8's pulling about $75. You kind of see him in almost every LCS at this point, and they're there. They're attainable. We got a couple more issues of this. We'll see where everything goes. And this is another book that really focused on, it's a Bat book, but at this point it's really focusing on Wonder Woman again. So I just think it's the, they're just kind of have been ramping up to this Wonder Woman 1984. I mean, I know the schedule got screwed up, but I think it's hopefully working out for them. Snyder and Capullo, you can't really go wrong with them. They've done some, 3-4 arcs of Amazing Batman, the Dark Knights, and I don't know, Metal really hasn't let me down. I'm enjoying it, And last but not least, we'll go a little independent. So back on the Donny Cates train, crossover. So I got number 1 here. This is a 1 in 10 variant, and I got number 2. And actually, I got here we go. I got a number 2 Virgin variant. Crossover's been an entertaining read. Donny Cates is probably one of the best self-promoting artists, and he hasn't let us down yet. It's everything's been, everything he's been writing has been great. He picks great artists to work with. Jeff Shaw is basically doing an awesome job on this. I didn't realize, I guess he painted this cover. Looks awesome. And this story, I think has potential to really catch on with anything. They have access to the Image characters. I think number 3 is going to have a Spawn variant, so it's going to be cool. They're alluding to a lot of characters. Kind of takes you back to the 90s when McFarlane was putting just like unannounced cameos. It's usually like Arms is one book. I think it's 8. And there's a Spawn walks by a cell, and there's all these different arms of characters you can recognize, like Batman, Spider-Man. You can see the characters, and I think he's trying to do that here. We'll see who he ends up getting the rights to. There's a Shadow, looks like one of the giant mechs from it's escaping me now. It's not Rom. It's I can't remember. But that might be an issue 3, things like that, and it's definitely, I could see this coming to the big screen. I don't think it's been optioned yet. Basically, he's they're kind of letting him do whatever he wants, so it's just going to be interesting to see who he gets and what they let him do with him. So I'm going to give this at least probably like 5 or 6 issues. With these kind of new stories, you give them a chance, I think, and it's also why I don't always go get a ton of independent books, so to speak. But it's definitely a solid read so far. I definitely can get behind some of the characters. It's interesting, and I think no matter what, even if you can't get, let's say, the comic book characters, like obviously for movie rights or TV rights or whatever, I think that this kind of story could cross over, no pun intended, to if he talked to Hasbro or something like that, you could do all their different franchises, get them different toy licenses, anything like that, and it would make the story kind of work. You could kind of modify it, and I think it would really be it could be something basically down the road. We'll see. I mean, I'm surprised someone hasn't tried to buy the story yet. They're probably trying to give it 5-6 issues too. And I guess my only concern on Spec for like #1, which is the first appearance so far of the main characters. I think Image still has this deal where if the LCS doesn't sell the books, the Image will take them back and I guess destroy them. So like this 1 in 10, it's kind of how rare was it? I'm not sure of the whole production run, but basically if they take it back, how many does that help or hurt? Like, did everyone buy the 1 in 10s and that's what's going to be out there? I know there's that secret, the secret variant. I was told by a couple comic book shops that it seemed to be about 1 in 25, 1 in 30 kind of run. We'll see how it all plays out, but as far as investment goes, it's I just don't know how it's going to affect it, because it could are the books going to be out there or are they not? Are people hoarding these, waiting for an option or something like that, or are they getting returned because the stores are already tired of looking at them after a month? Only time will tell, and we'll see what goes on. But hey, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
So that's all for this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to come back next week for an exclusive all Star Wars episode. You won't want to miss that. We're going to be talking about some key issues to collect in light of some recent news from the Disney investors meeting. Also some spec books that you can pick up for just a few bucks. So be sure to come back next week to check that out. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you like what you're seeing, please leave us some feedback in the comments section below. Check us out on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, email us at commerceofcomics@yahoo.com. But until next time, this is your bearded, bald, friendly neighborhood comic guy saying happy holidays, stay safe, stay nerdy.